Ben.o. Ochart here with an update on my battle with the Columnaris disease. And these are the survivors currently in the 135. You can see they're looking colorful and healthy. It's my big Taiwan reef back there, my tank boss, tetrastigma, livingstoni. They're all looking pretty good, and they're active, and they're taking food. The Malawi hawk. The hawk looks good. The Z-Rock. Unfortunately, I did lose my Linni, who I had raised up from a small fry. That was a little bit of a sad moment. He just sort of tipped over and was not showing that much outward damage. But this disease does attack some fish internally. The Venusis and the polystigma, I was almost tempted to move them into quarantine because they're showing a lot of external damage, as you can see here in the tissue damage on the Venusis. But one of the things that activates this disease is stress, and I believe that moving them would probably stress them out, and they are being active and taking food. You can see the damage here to the tail of the polystigma. So I think I'm going to just leave the two of them here, keep medicating the tank, and they do seem to be on the mend, even though the external damage is pretty severe. The Dimidiochromis johnstoni looks good. Didn't seem to be phased at all by any of it. Part of what helped, I think, get things under control was really vacuuming the tank. You can see a close-up on the tissue damage here on the Venusis. You can see it's pretty severe. It's a horrible disease. But lifting up all of the decor, lifting up all the plants, and really vacuuming thoroughly really helped, because Columnaris does like to attach itself to detritus, to fish waste and food that might be laying around. So getting all that cleaned out right away really, I think, has helped to that, together with the medications. In the 100, where it started, the fish that were looking, some of the fish that were looking like this, very damaged. Here with the classic saddle that you see in Columnaris. These fish are on the mend and are now recovering. The streaks in the body are gone. Even the sores are starting to get smaller and disappear. So I believe that tank has turned the corner. You can see it here. And it is, the fish are looking better. They're active, they're taking food, and they're acting normal. The clown loaches and the pleco were unfazed by any of it. As same thing with the eye biter I have in here. He wasn't phased at all. There's a little Taiwan reef in there that I don't know how he survived. He was very, very torn up, covered in sores, and somehow he's recovered and bounced back. Just a very strong fish. When it first started in the 135, probably contaminated by the Otter Point that had been moved over there, the sand diver, who was being harassed a bit by the tetrastigma, the tank boss, was the first one to show signs. Stress will actually aggravate it. You can see it here on his dorsal fin. And so he ended up being moved into quarantine with several other fish that were showing signs. And it's I'm sad to have to report that every fish that was moved into quarantine, except for the sand diver, has actually died. So that was the Tangerine Tiger, the 3 Dolphins, the 2 VC10s, the Dimidiochromis strigatus. They have all expired. They really didn't last that long once they were in quarantine. And sometimes, like I said, the damage can be internal. The bright spot, the good news, is that the Rostratus, the sand diver, is putting up just one hell of a fight. And despite some severe fin damage, as you can see here from this morning, he is still alive, and he is showing some signs of becoming more active. He's interacting more, he's moving around more, and this morning he actually showed some interest and nibbled at some food. So that's a real good sign. And I'm continuing to medicate this tank with some pretty strong medication made by Mardel. It's made by Fritz, actually, called Mardel, and it's a pretty strong medication that kills the bacteria. So what did I learn in all of this? Some pretty hard lessons for sure. Definitely, I'm extending my quarantine period to 2 to 4 weeks for sure, and I'm never ever going to buy a fish that shows any signs of illness or is in a tank with other fish that look ill. At the first sign of any kind of disease or illness, I'm going to quickly QT and medicate, and also do a good vacuuming and a water change before I start that process, and also remove charcoal when I start medication so it doesn't absorb the medications. I'm also not going to waste time with things like Mela and Pima effects, because these things are these herbal medications. They really didn't stand a chance against Columnaris. Columnaris was just too strong for it, and this may have, I don't know, it might have done something, but I think it really it just allowed the Columnaris to take hold. Something like a Furon 2, or a by API, or a Canaplex, a Canaplex from CChem. Those are good. Those are gram negative. It's called gram negative. That's the kind of thing you need for this kind of bacteria. It's called gram negative. Mardel has, what I could get my hands on, I feel has done a good job at arresting it. I've even ordered up some food that has some antibiotics in it. So I'm going to have some of that at hand. That should be good for if anything ever crops up in the future. You always have to make sure after you're done with your treatment to add some charcoal to your filtration to remove the meds. Leave it in there for a couple weeks. Do some water changes. Go back on your regular schedule, and always have some quality medication on hand, and so you're not scrambling. And I do recommend this Matrix Carbon. It's great stuff. I pulled 2 bags of carbon out of 2 different filters. One was Matrix and one wasn't. The Matrix was completely dry in about 2-3 minutes. I mean, the stuff absorbs like crazy. So then you're going to have to, after killing off bacteria in the fish, of course, you've killed off some of your good bacteria, so you're going to have to repopulate that with something like a stability. And also realize that despite your best efforts, with a disease that's this aggressive, you are going to lose some fish. I've had to try and keep perspective, and that's helped.